This is Rock and Recovery. I'm Garrett Hart, and with me is Michelle Armstrong. She's a person in recovery to share information about barriers that women face in recovery. Michelle, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Garrett. I appreciate you asking me to be here.
So one of the issues about recovery that was learned early on is to separate the genders, simply because the men and women had different needs and different issues in their recovery, and for certainly a basic reason that fraternizing led to distraction and eventually to relapse. But there are particular issues of barriers to women in recovery, and let's talk a bit about that.
That sounds fantastic. So barriers that I personally faced in recovery was a lot of stigma behind recovery. Being a business owner and a very independent person, it was very difficult for me to ask for help. I was the person that people came to for solutions. And I think anybody that's an entrepreneur and owns a business knows that like recovery, it ebbs and flows. You're going to have really good days, you're going to have really bad days, and when stressors would happen, my solution to that was to turn to alcohol. And that's how I found my solace, was to, that problem will go away. And it was not, the answer obviously was not in the bottle. Being a very independent person, I also didn't like to ask for help. So when situations would come up and people would offer solutions, my ego would get in the way quite a bit, and I would say, no, I can handle that, or that wouldn't be the solution. And even though their solution might have been a very good one, I wasn't very open-minded and willing to hear others and what they had to say. I think in recovery, when you're a woman, there's also this do-it-all kind of attitude. I'm married, I have children, 2 adult children now, I worked full-time, and at one point I did have it all. But something eventually has to give. And I have a lot of codependency in my family, so I was the person that everybody was going to for solutions. And what happens with that in the long run is you end up forgetting and losing yourself and putting yourself last, because you're putting everybody else's needs before your own. And that works for a very short time until you finally realize that, oh my gosh, for me, it was like what happened to Michelle. Like, I'm doing all of this for everybody else, but somehow I got lost in the mix, because you're giving little pieces and parts of yourself to everybody else. And although you get affirmations from other people of what a great person you are, and you've helped me so much, and I couldn't do it without you, and you begin to lose a little piece of yourself. So, it's very important for women in recovery to set healthy boundaries for themselves and make sure that they're setting those parameters. Not only, it's just necessary. It's a necessary part of recovery.
And starting from the fact that second glass of wine wasn't working anymore, as far as being able to just sort of let that fog come on, and along with that, being the resource that people are expecting is going to be the person to fix things for them, or to have the solution that they need. That's a lot of responsibility to put on yourself, and it's unnatural when people really just need to get their own story together and begin to take care of themselves. You came to that conclusion that you needed to find a way for yourself and to regain those lost parts of yourself. How did that happen?
Oh my goodness. My abuse of alcohol didn't happen until much later in life. There was a point in my life where I could put down alcohol and it wasn't an issue, especially when my children were younger and I was focusing on being a mother. When it got to be major life changes that were happening, my children were growing up, they got out of the house, they left, it was just my husband and I found a lot of alone time, stresses at work were happening. My alcohol intake increased extensively. I mean, I was, to be honest, I was drinking at my worst 3 bottles of wine a day just to get through the day. And when they say addiction is a progressive disease, specifically alcoholism, it really is. It got progressively worse in a very short period of time. I just could not physically function anymore. I'm a big AA person. I do the 12 steps of recovery. And I really just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I remember waking up one morning and just looking in the mirror and absolutely hating the person that was staring back. And I knew at that point, I had known for probably a good month or two that I really needed to get help. And if I wasn't going to get help, I was going to die. Addiction runs in my family. Both my parents are addicts. So I knew I had kind of a predisposition of this running in my family. And I wanted a better life for myself. So I just woke up one morning and I said, today's the day. And I asked my husband to take me to treatment, and the next day I went to Glen Bay, and it was the best decision I've ever made in my life.
And the fact is that with the treatment, you were able to find yourself again, that you got permission to not be the person as a resource, but be the person to look to see what you could do to help yourself. And that's such an important part of treatment. And then there's post-treatment with a whole new group of people, the people, places, and things that have to change that help to support your recovery. Talk about that process of going through treatment and then that process in fellowship afterwards.
Treatment has been an absolute blessing for me. I have met the most unique individuals, and you know, I've had friends for over 30 years that have been in my life, and the people that I have met in recovery are some of the most genuine people I've ever come into contact with. The process of me going to treatment, what really made me do some self-reflection and figure out not necessarily how much I was drinking, but the reasons why I was drinking. And it was a lot of hard work. I had to do a lot of therapy. I did EMDR, trauma therapy, because I have some trauma history. And I realized that for many years, close to 40, I was really suppressing these traumas unconsciously with alcohol, because triggers would occur and then I would drink, not realizing that there was a connection with the trauma that was happening and was causing me to pick up that drink. And therapy is really hard work, but it is also necessary in recovery. I find the recovery community very welcoming. I am very active. I have a home group. I have a sponsor who has a sponsor. I sponsor other women. I have the opportunity to run the women's meeting for Glen Bay on Monday evenings, which I consider just like a blessing, because I'm able to give back to